Some of the things we're doing can benefit from this right now. So we're putting video consulting out there, and we went to Balranald, and it was really bad. It was just, there wasn't much we could do. There really isn't any service to get here as well. I mean, a cost of getting a cardiologist to visit Balranald, well, they don't exist. No. So you could have, I mean, I guess you'd have to have an extremely large amount of money to convince him. But then, because they're small populations, there's not going to be a full day's workload for them as well. So they're going to drive there, they'll see 2 or 3 people who really need help, but then they've got to drive back an hour and a half. So it's just...
cost of travel time and
exactly. Because of the volume, the location, it's just not logistically, it's not a reasonable thing to expect. So therefore you have to centralise. Everyone drives to Mildura. But if you can't drive, if you're too sick, there's a waiting list even in Mildura, and then from Mildura they have to travel to Melbourne and Adelaide. So I think the travel is a major problem, and that's where with broadband, we're rolling out video consulting, so it just eliminates the need to travel completely. They can sit in the GP clinic or even in their home, potentially, and talk to a specialist to get the right information, to find out the urgency of their condition, and then travel to see the specialist if required. The point we wanted to make in regard to digital technology is that in this area, because we're so isolated from every other region, it's a long way to anywhere from Mildura, really. You've got to head to Adelaide or Bendigo for any other treatment. So we're a small, tight-knit community that really communicates well, and we're bringing new technology on very quickly. With secure messaging, we have all the GPs and the hospital and our specialists, allied health services, pharmacies, aged care facilities. We all communicate electronically with shared health records. So most of us are electronic, but what we're now trying to do is go into video consult, and we're struggling with that, really, with the technology that's available, especially as you go out of the rural centre, the service that exists, it drops exponentially. So the smaller communities suffer the most, and they're the ones who need it the most. So the internet speed, the capacity of the lines, the latency of information. When you're doing a video conversation, it's very different to sending an email or browsing the internet. You need two-way communication very quickly. So when you say something, I hear that and respond, and it's a neat flowing conversation. And we're just not getting that. But even so, we're doing it. We have this technology. We're putting webcams on every GP's computer. So that's our goal within the next 6 months, to have all our GPs and specialists ready and able to use the service. And where it's appropriate, they are using it for their patients. But in some instances, it's just not appropriate. They can't use it. The quality isn't there. The sound is jerky. It's crackling. So we have to wait, basically, for the technology, the infrastructure to catch up to what we're doing. And the further out of town, the worse it is. And the ones that need it the most are the most disadvantaged. So, if we had that sort of service, the same service in the likes of Oyen and Robinvale that the NBN can provide in Mildura, the equality would be there. We could all have the same potential access to services, rather than travelling. And the public transport, in a lot of these towns doesn't exist. So you have no choice. You just stay home. So the benefits would be just tremendous to have that infrastructure. It would be a definite improvement from what they have now, but we do still worry about the services that we would like to provide, primarily video, would struggle with satellite, just the way the technology works, with the latency of the time it takes for the signal to get from one end to the other. But it needs to be seen, really. We certainly wouldn't knock it back. I mean, any technology, any improvement would be fantastic. But to compare wireless to the NBN, the speed improvements and the amount of services that you could run on that equipment would be so much greater. But we will work with whatever we have. That's it. These communities are so isolated. Anything that's there, we will use it to the maximum we can. And what I suspect with wireless, if that's the only service there, that it will be instantly utilised by everyone, and then it will be overwhelmed very quickly. So I worry about the long-term potential of a service like that. How much can it hold before it too is overwhelmed? Whereas with fibre, the NBN is able to hold a lot more capacity, on that, in that infrastructure. So we would hope they would do it right the first time, rather than be back in the same situation in 5 years' time.